Hello and welcome to Take You to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. I'm your co-host, JP John Poz from the Two-Man Power Trip. And of course, joining me is the star of the show, the former WWE World Tag Team Champion, the former 8-time Smoky Mountain Wrestling Tag Team Champion, and one of the greatest trainers in the history of the business, the man that trained The Rock, Kurt Angle, Vince McMahon, Shane McMahon, Mark Henry, Edge, and so many others, the Dr. Desire, Tom Prichard. Dr. Tom, how you doing today?
John, I'm doing great today. I'm doing great tonight. And as always, it is a beautiful night in Knoxville, Tennessee. So how could I not be good?
Nice. I look great now that I have this JPWA shirt on. You got yours on. I love it.
Yeah, what a wonderful shirt, man. It's promoting and helping promote. And a lot of people ask me why I wear this all the time. It's called self-promotion. If you don't do it, nobody else will. Or it's better to do it yourself, too, I think. And that was how it was done in the old days. And I'm going to continue some of those traditions on and on. Nice shirt. Nice look.
I love it. Thank you so much for the shirt. I love it. I love
cool.
You got to support the team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just have to.
Well, by all means, I appreciate it. Any support I can get, any support we can get. How about that?
Yes. Now, what's going on at JPWA? How's everything going?
Everything is going great, man. We just finished up the 6th week. We have some visitors coming in tomorrow from Altoona, Pennsylvania. Looking forward to that. And keep rolling on along. That's all we can do. The business keeps changing. People keep changing. People keep making comments and saying whatever they're going to say. But I got to tell you, real quick, take the side road here. I watched Ricky Gervais last night, Humanity, on Netflix. And I don't watch a lot of Netflix, but we were just shopping around last night, and my wife said, stop, wait, let's see what Ricky Gervais is about. And it was a stand-up act. It was so apropos, hitting social media and how people are offended about the littlest things. If you say one thing that they expect you to kowtow down to their opinion, and whereas we all used to have our opinions, and they were greeted with either, well, that's your opinion and I agree or I don't agree. But now, boy, you get lambasted with social media, and there is no winning. It's like putting your head in a wood chipper. Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. But I thought it was very apropos, especially for the wrestling business, and it's a lesson for a lot of people to learn. You don't want to pay the price of people bashing over the head. Don't go on Twitter. Just be careful what you say. And even then, people are going to find something with it. So with self-promotion, I'm going to promote everywhere, every time I get the chance for JPWA.
I saw Ricky Gervais, New York City, the Paramount Theater, or whatever you want to call it, the theater adjacent to Madison Square Garden. Sold out show. Very, very funny. Obviously, he's not very politically correct in a lot of the stuff. He was drinking the entire time, which is just funny and kind of, whatever. But it's one of those things, I guess, it's a part of the act now. He's always got a drink with him when he's
right.
When he's performing. But he was great. He was hilarious.
Ron White always has a drink with him when he was performing. So, I mean, a lot of guys do. But yeah, I thought he was great. If you saw him live, I love live performances. We used to go to a great comedy club in Tampa, and then he had one up here in Knoxville. And thanks to COVID, it kind of screwed everybody out. But yeah, what a great act, great show last night. And you're right, he's not politically correct, and I can appreciate that. And at the end of his act, I don't know if he says it at every act, but he says, hey, look, if something sounds funny to you, say it, win, lose, or draw. And he explained where he got it from his older brother. So yeah, I thought it was very, very entertaining. Had a good time watching last night, actually.
He was very controversial to some people, but me and my brother thought it was hilarious. He was saying that fat women always say, like, oh, if I was skinnier, I'd be hot. And then Ricky Gervais was like, no, you wouldn't. You're still ugly no matter what. I don't want to hear that if you're skinnier, you'd be hot. You're fat. You're ugly. Like, just very, very funny, really abrasive type humor.
Well, but there is a method to his madness. And there again, he was telling stories, and it all came back around, and it was I always look at the act, and I listen to it, and I look at how it is structured, and a lot of it is certainly feeling of improvisation, but you have to have 2 hours or an hour and a half, however long you're on stage, worth of material, and it's the exact same thing. Into a match or cutting a promo, whatever it may be, you have to know that what you're saying is connecting with your audience, and obviously there's an audience for that, and you just got to find out what your audience hits, and yeah, it was very entertaining. I've heard him on other shows and other places, but I don't watch a lot of sitcoms, or I don't watch a lot of those award shows, but I've seen Ricky Gervais, and I thought this guy gets it. And you're right, it's not everybody's going to get it, and he can be very abrasive, and you have to have an open mind, and you gotta understand it appeals to this audience, and just because you don't like it doesn't make it right. So that's all. And the same thing about professional wrestling. And I said something, I wrote something real quick yesterday, I think it was last night, about after I watched it, and I said, I remember when this was a rough, politically incorrect business, and a lot of the stuff that the Great Malenko or Johnny Valentine, Jose Lothario, Terry Funk, oh my gosh, Terry Funk, you couldn't say today because someone would be offended somewhere. And somebody wrote back saying, well, I agree. We do things that you guys did, and they started changing the channel. First of all, they got to start watching again. So maybe if you did some of the stuff the old timers did or the old school did, maybe you updated it, it might get eyes on you, but I just knew there was going to be somebody that said, yeah, but, and it proved my point. So we're living in bizarro land. I used to like living there, but now it's even getting weird for me.
Yes, for sure. Just want to bring this one point up about Ricky Gervais. I still remember his ending joke. He basically was saying that he was in his hotel room, and he had seen a milk carton with a girl's picture on it. And, on the milk carton, she's missing. It's smiling and stuff. She's like, oh, that's interesting. He's like, the girl's missing. Oh, that's sad. And he's looking at the picture. I think she said she was like 13, smiling face, description of her, and saying that she had a family and the number to call to find her and stuff. So as he's leaving the hotel room, he looks out the window and he sees a girl in the next hotel or whatever it is, the next building, and he sees it. He's like, oh my God, it almost looks like that milk carton that I had back in the room. It almost looks. So he goes back, he gets the milk carton and wants to look at the girl's face, and he's looking. He's like, man, that kind of looks like her. It looks like her. That girl over there, she's not smiling though. Can't be her.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's just observational comedy as well as just putting your touch on it. And yeah, he did a bit about kids last night too. That was a little over the line, but there again, it's in the realm of comedy. It's in the realm of, hey man, let's loosen up a little bit and let's get through the darkness and put a little smile on it while we can, if you're capable.
Of course, he told that joke a lot better than I did, and
of course
he drew it out a little bit more and stuff. I mean, but it's really, really good. I still remember that. He's just so funny. And then him at those award shows and those award ceremonies, he's great because he'll be like Tom Cruise, you complete psychopath. He'll just go right after the guys. He won't sugarcoat it at all.
He did a deal about Bruce Jenner last night too, which was exactly what you do. And he said people were missing the point of the joke. It wasn't about I was making a transgender joke. I was making fun of women drivers, and it just came right back around. He said, no, you're missing the point. Even though Bruce Jenner was a man, now he's not. And when it turns into a woman, I mean, okay, it wasn't saying that, but it's true he did or something. It just because people want to be so sensitive about these sensitive topics that nobody should touch, although there's a bit of humor there. And man, yeah, it's 2021, and I'm glad to be here.
I don't know if you're familiar with Jim Florentine. He's another funny comedian.
Not right now, might, but
he's good. He's got a good bit from a couple of years ago. It's basically a wrestling bit, and it's like a legit story. He used to go to the matches and stuff, and this creepy guy who was a quote unquote photographer would have pictures of the wrestlers. So he'd have Chief Jay Strongbow, a picture of him. He goes, if you sit on my lap, I'll give you a Chief Jay Strongbow picture. So he goes, so all me and my friends just sit on this guy's lap all day long, just like funny, like creepy stuff. But he said he was such a big fan that he said the story is legitimately true. It's creepy that they knew like child molester type guy would like give them pictures just to hang out with them, and they knew what he was all about, but they just wanted the pictures. And he was, I forget how old he was, like 13 or something.
Yeah, and once again, I mean, for any. I'm going way in the forest for this one, but there was a lot of stuff going on even today. You know, people who hang out, who used to hang out at the wrestling matches, and you would see them and you know them, and just by virtue of the fact that you like professional wrestling. And I mean that with all due respect, because I grew up loving professional wrestling, so I'm putting myself in that category, man. You're a special group, especially when you grew up in the 60s and 70s, watching and falling in love with this stuff called professional wrestling. Today, it was the thing to do. It was the in thing. In my day, it wasn't. You're an outcast. You're an outlaw. But then you found those same outlaws who felt the same way you did, and some of them, might not have been very fond of bathing, or might have taken a bath once a week, whether they needed to or not, or might have washed their clothes every other month, whether they needed to or not. And I get that. There were some odd characters around, but once again, it wasn't for everybody, and I still contend that it's not for everybody, and that's okay. I'm okay with doing that. I'm okay with being that outcast, that outsider. I always have been. I think at this stage of my life, I'm not changing. So,
yeah, and I love that. And you're almost like an outlaw right now, which I love. I love it. You're
I don't think I've been anything. I don't think I've been anything but an outlaw. And even when I've tried to walk that line and stay on the right side of the law, by God, if I saw injustice happening in an establishment where I happen to be frequenting or passing by, I might just stop on in and do what I think is right. I don't know. It started on Ricky Gervais, and we just got off on the craziness in this world, not to mention professional wrestling, which continues to this day, I might say.
Yes, absolutely. And what the topic at hand is today, and what I wanted to talk to you about, was the new Yokozuna documentary on the WWE Network, WWE Icons Yokozuna. And they have a bunch of icons coming out as far as documentaries to the part of that series. I think it looks like Lex Luger is going to be a part of it. It looks like, who the heck else? Rob Van Dam was a part of it. So you got a couple, but the first one to start off with was Yokozuna. So what'd you think about this? I know you did check it out.
I did check it out, and of course, WWE does those kind of things just great. They have a great team. They have a great feel for stuff like that. And this one was no different. And I thought it told a pretty good story of where Yokozuna fit when he came in and when he left. And I knew Yoko when he was Kokina in Pensacola, before he obviously went to WWE, but this was when he was just starting out. And when they said he either liked you, if he liked you, you were golden. If he didn't, get out of his way. True, that was true, but that was true with most of the guys who were Samoan at that time. And it started with Peter Maivia, who I had the opportunity to meet, by the way, in LA, just briefly, but you could tell he carried respect with him wherever he went. And then I went to Japan from LA. My first Japanese tour was with Afa and Sika. So it was when I met Kokina in Rodney in Pensacola, I had already had a relationship and with Maivia and Alpha and Sika, and so it was only natural to get along with him too. And he was one of the guys that, my God, was all those guys are naturals. All those guys have a inbred respect, and you give respect, you earn respect, and then you get respect, and that's how they lived, and that's how Rodney was too. That's how he came about. And I've worked with him a couple times, and you got to be careful when you're working with big guys like that if they don't know what they're doing. But the key was he knew what he was doing, and he was a pro from day one. And he just had that talent, natural ability to go out there and move like a cruiserweight, move like a guy that was 200 pounds and never hurt you. That's the key to this. That's what a lot of people don't understand. They think you have to go out and just knock the living hell out of each other. Well, no, you make it look that way, but you don't. And yes, well, you have to lay it in, and it is solid. There's a difference between stiff and solid. And Rodney was always solid, but never hurt me. I'm sure he might have landed on a couple people he didn't care about, but as far as I was concerned, he was great in the ring, and he was great outside the ring too. I saw near the end of the Icon documentary, he was working in the ring with Droz, and I was there. I think I was the one filming it from in the studio that day, because he was staying at the Holiday Inn in downtown Stamford. My apartment in downtown Stamford was directly across the street from the Stamford Mall, and it was not even a block away from the Holiday Inn. So I would walk over to Rodney's apartment or Rodney's hotel and come up, and we would hang out. It was easier for me to come to him than him to go to me, because I could just leave and walk, and I could leave, he can go to bed. So, you know, it was, he had a very interesting life, great career, and I don't think he ever lost sight until the end, when you know, come to find out the weight was becoming a bigger and bigger problem for him, and I wouldn't even begin to know how to tell somebody that this is the biggest thing that got you over is the biggest thing that's now holding you down. How do you say that? And I think a couple of people even said that in the documentary. How do you do that? It's a tough call. It's a tough way to do it. But I know WWE tried a few different ways. So I don't know, man. It was there were some uncomfortable scenes to watch, but at the same time, I thought they did a very good job of honoring Yokozuna.
I love the honesty too. Like, you know, sometimes documentaries, sometimes they don't say the ups and the downs, or sometimes you hide some stuff. I feel like they were very honest about a lot of the things, like his weight problem, him sneaking food in, them sending him to Duke, it not working, although they thought it would be a fix because he found somebody down there to sneak him food. It's like, man, like it was good to get like all that honesty and everything that was going on.
Well, once again, you know, if those of us who are perfect and never had a problem in the world find it hard to understand when, you know, being overweight or having a food addiction, a gambling addiction, whatever your addiction might be, drugs, sex, whatever it is, if you've never had any kind of malady or addiction, it's easy for you to say, oh, yeah, just stop eating. Oh, I can't understand. Why can't you do that? Just stop eating. Yeah, okay. Well, that's like telling a manic depressant, just cheer up. It doesn't work like that. You know, this is a disease. And when you've done something your whole life, and I think especially overeating, being conditioned to be one way, and getting over with this huge weight, his larger than life body and his larger than life persona, I don't think anybody can understand. You can't just shut it off, and it's not something that just you just simply dismiss and say, oh yeah, just stop eating. Even if they have you in where was it, North Carolina?
Duke.
Okay. Even if you're at a hospital, even if they have something that's going to help you, I mean, if you're not programmed and you're not ready, then you're not going to do it, no matter what. If you're not ready to stop your habits and ways of life, you're not going to do it. It has to come to a realization, I think, to the person that it's happening for. And again, people who have not been through these episodes or these little escapades and experiences, and then they don't understand. But I could see, especially when he was in Stanford for the time that he came to get in the ring with us, I knew he was there to get back in shape. I knew we were there to get him in the ring and do what we had to do. But at the same time, I don't think at that time when he came to us in Stanford that it was already going over the red line where we needed to really say, hey, hold on, this is a lot more serious. And therefore, I didn't see it. So I guess it was, God, that had to have been 97 or whenever it was, but 97, 98, whenever he was there. And so if you don't see something and you don't want to accept it, then you're going to keep doing what you're doing until you figure it out, until you figure, wait a minute, I can't do this anymore. And I don't know if that ever happened with Rodney. I don't know if he ever really wanted to confront it or wanted to see it. But I tell you this, he was that guy you wanted to have in the locker room. He was that guy you wanted to have on the card. He was that guy you wanted to have on your side. A real quick story. I didn't go out a lot in my WWE days. I did go out occasionally. And there was one time in Tampa where I went to a place, an establishment called the Dollhouse with Taker and Yoko. And we were sitting there at the bar, and I'm not a good shot guy either. Oh, here, have a shot. Oh man, and but that was the Undertaker's deal. That was Yoko's deal. So they brought the 4 rounds of shot, Jack Daniel, 6 rounds, 2 apiece. And I drank the first one, and I was wearing one of those T. Michael gym shirts or whatever, real loose fitting shirt at the bar. And all of a sudden I took the shot of Jack and went right down my shirt, went right through the shirt, right to the floor. And it was pretty embarrassing, man. It was not good. But that's, I knew I couldn't hang with those guys, but I was making a valiant attempt. But nobody ever said anything about it. Yoko checked on me, Mark checked on me, everything was good. We continued on. But, it was that kind of business too, where that's how you spent your nights. That's how you spent your days on the road, to the town, to the building, whatever it is. And different culture, different business, different time and place. So why would Yoko change if he felt everything was okay? I can understand his mindset. Looking back now, obviously he should have taken it more seriously, but he didn't, and obviously paid the price. So
it's one of those things where, man, it seems so obvious to us, but to the person, or especially to him, it's not so obvious. And you're right. That's what kind of made his career. Being Yokozuna, being the big guy, got him a skyrocket of a push. Got him the WWF title. Basically ended Hulkamania in the WWF for an extended period of time. So it's one of those things where, yes, to lose weight, but that was the kind of the reason why he got the huge push.
Right. And once again, it is a tough spot to be in, even with all the history that we've been through in this business and been through with our friends and family and things like this. You sometimes really can't see the forest through the trees. You're right in the middle of it, and you don't want any harm to come to that person, but really it is up to that person. And sometimes all it takes is one person, one friend to come and say, hey, look, man, maybe it's time you slowed down, or maybe it's time you checked in and got some help for your weight. But nobody really wants to be that guy, because it's hard. It's a difficult thing. I think it's probably easier today for people because of all the history and because of all the tragedy and chaos that's been left in the wake. Not just in wrestling, but the entertainment business and in life altogether. You see some people who you don't even know they're struggling, and you can see it, or other people can see it, but they can't, and they don't want to. They don't want to admit weakness, I guess, and that's kind of what I took away from Yoko, because never at any time did I ever see him not be a good guy, not be happy and having fun with what he was doing. And I guess the attitude was then, I think until it became so obvious that he was growing out of his gear, his tights, growing out of everything and breaking, sitting down on the toilet in Pittsburgh, what I mean? Then you have things you can point to and say, look, we love you. We don't want you to hurt yourself. We don't want you to die. You have grown 20 inches out of your gear. It's not healthy. It's putting fluid, weight on your heart, and that can't help. So, but that person has to be receptive, and sometimes you'll get defensive, and sometimes you'll get receptive. And I don't know, man. It's yeah. I had mixed emotions watching the documentary. It's very well put together, but then you start remembering and looking back and saying, "My God, man, how was he making it? Having to get on the planes every day and making the towns, and he never bitched or complained." And I always remember being the same guy I knew from the beginning, never big dog to anybody, and can't say that about all the guys that went in there and became top names, but this guy did. And so what do you say to somebody like that? Hey, man, we need to fix you. I don't need to be fixed. Okay. So it's a touchy thing, man. It's crazy. And I think a lot of families have been through it, and a lot of friends have been through it.
How big was he in Pensacola when you met him? Was he 400 pounds at that point or no?
I don't think he was 400. He was every bit of 3. He was a lot slimmer than he was, but he was a big man, and he moved. Gosh, he might have been about the size of Jacob Fatu, and I don't think Jacob's 400 yet, is he?
Not quite. No.
Okay, but he was around. He looked a lot like Jacob, because when the first time I saw Jacob Fatu, he reminded me a lot of the early days of Yokozuna, of Kokina, when I saw him, and it's just those guys have that gene pool, whatever's in the water, whatever makes these guys so fantastic and so natural. It really is a family pride thing with the Samoans, and none of them want to fail or embarrass the family. So they go out and they love this business. And I've known Sam too. Sam and I wrecked my car coming from Birmingham to Pensacola many years ago, almost 40 years ago. And he's never forgot that. I've never forgot that. That's a whole story in itself, man, that happened. We wrecked my car, went off the road. Long story short, these people picked us up, a guy and a girl. Never seen us before in our lives. As soon as I ran into a car on the side of the road on the freeway. Ask me how that happened, and I won't tell you. But anyway, and this girl and her boyfriend stopped to make sure we're okay. We're okay, good, go ahead. The cops came, and these guys got back on the freeway, circled around, came back to see if we needed help. Now I'm 22 years old, had a shot coming out from Atlanta, worked Birmingham Monday night. We're going down to Pensacola to stay with Sam and Alpha and everybody. And going to work out of there for the week, then go back to Atlanta. Actually, Alpha was in Atlanta. Alpha and Seeker were in Atlanta. We're going to stay with whoever it was, maybe just his mom, Sam's mom. And they came back and never seen us before in their lives. And Sam's this big Samoan kid, and I am this stupid-looking midget. And they offered to take us to the Birmingham airport to get us a car. It was closed. So this girl and guy who've never seen us before in their lives took us to their apartment and let us sleep there that night, take a shower next morning, took us to the airport, got a rental car, and I said, man, I want your address. I want to send them something nice when I get back to Atlanta. Get back to Atlanta after the week. Don't think anything about it. Never see him again in my life. 5 years later, I'm in Birmingham, Alabama, at the Radisson, ladies' night. And we were staying over, and I'm in the bar. Girl's eyeballing me, and I'm looking. I catch her eye, and I'm thinking, oh, of course she knows, man. We just worked down here at the Boutwell. Of course she knows. Yeah. She walks over to me, nice-looking girl, comes up to me and says, excuse me, are you a wrestler? Well, yes, I am. Did you wreck your car here about 5 years ago? Oh, my God. Yeah, that was me and my boyfriend picked you up. I thought you looked familiar. And I looked nothing like I looked back then. So you never know that, too. I mean, that would never happen in a million years. We usually didn't stay over in Birmingham. We happened to stay over because we had a shot that way. And it was ladies' night and sitting in the bar. So you never know who you're going to cross paths with. And you never know when you're going to see them again. So that goes with, be careful on the way up because you're going to see them on the way down. Yes. That's a true story. I mean, people can tell us that all day long. And I said the same thing. Oh, yeah, right. Never happened. Yeah, it happened. Trust me. It may not happen to you. It may not happen to you yet, but there will come a time when deja vu or whatever you want to call it, man, is just be nice to everybody and know that karma is a bitch. Did the boyfriend was she still with the boyfriend? Or yeah, she actually was. I did actually. She wasn't there that night, but I asked her if they were still together. I said, yes, they were. And she was just out with the girls having a drink. I thought, wow, and I told her, I said, I had all intentions of sending you a very nice gift and a thank you card. And I just said, to hell with it. And I'm so sorry, but thank you so much. And she laughed. She was nice, but I never thought I'd see him again. Ever. How would that happen? It doesn't. Oh, yeah, it does. So. Did you buy her a drink that night at least? I don't think I did. I think she went back to her girls. No, yeah, I don't think I did. Damn it. Yeah. That is crazy. And it's interesting to know all those guys were down there in that area for longer than you would think, the Samoans, because you always think of Northeast and they're always working in the Northeast, but they were down in Pensacola and that area a lot. Well, once again, have you ever been, let me ask you this first, have you ever been to Pensacola? No, never have. Okay, well, Pensacola is has a is it a Navy base? I think it's a Navy base. It's a military base there. I'm pretty sure it's Navy. It might be Air Force. I'm not sure. And the beach is really, really nice. It's a white beach, beautiful, beautiful sand. And for me, it's different than Miami. People call Pensacola the redneck Riviera. Miami's a little more upscale, a little more high class, a little more high end anyway. I don't know if it's high class, but I'm sure it is. And high end. But Pensacola is more of a good down home feel. It's a redneck feel, no doubt about it. But it was a lot of fun, and a lot of those guys settled there because the weather's beautiful, the beach is beautiful, and you were 10 minutes to the gym, another 10 minutes to the beach, and where I lived, 10 minutes to the gym. Then from the gym, you go right to the beach. You didn't have to leave till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Great trips home the very same night. Rarely did you have a stayover, and beautiful women, beautiful palm trees, just beautiful weather all the way around. And I loved it. I was single. I was having a blast. And I think that's why the guys like Alpha and Sika, when they went down that way and worked in that territory, found the environment, inviting, and that's why they stayed there. It was affordable, and man, you could have a pool in your backyard, stay out all day, and then go to the show. So Jerry Stubbs had a beautiful house in Pensacola, yeah, beautiful pool, and we would go over to his house on a regular basis. And before I got my condo, we would hang out at Jerry's house. So it was really a fun place to live, and that's why a lot of the guys are still from there. You know, the Usos still live there, and I believe Brian Armstrong, Road Dogg, still lives in Jay, Florida, which isn't that far out of Pensacola. It's right in that southeastern part, the Panhandle there. So it is a very nice place to live, and I was looking forward to spending the week there. But obviously, other plans took place.
My buddy lives in Orlando for like the last 20-something years, and I've been down there at least 20-something times. I just make an excuse to go down there every year. I love it. Love it down there. The weather is just perfect for me anyway. I just love it.
Orlando's a good place, nice place, but it's not Pensacola. It's a different vibe. It's certainly a different vibe, man.
Oh, I believe it. As far as Yoko and kind of knowing him then, but in WWF, when you kind of get brought in with the Smoky Mountain, does he remember like their history together?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, he was that guy, man, because we had history together in Pensacola and Birmingham. So we did know each other in that place. I mean, we were social and in some of the same social circles or instances, and of course he did, and that's what made it even better. And of course, we knew that when we came in with Jimmy Cornette, that it only made sense for them a spokesman, and there was none better than Jim Cornette to get the heat, to tell the story, to get the point across, and kind of like Paul Heyman is doing for Roman Reigns today. That was what Jim Cornette was there for and did for Yokozuna back then. Of course, you had Mr. Fuji, who was an old time hand who people knew and recognized. Fuji wasn't the greatest promo guy. He could get the point across, but when you needed somebody to really paint that picture, it just made sense for Jim Cornette to come along. So that also helped with our social interaction again.
I love that Cornette was his manager or his spokesperson, but you also like Fuji. As far as Fuji, was he like his manager, like on the road and stuff? Because I heard he would travel with him, make sure he was okay, sometimes do some stuff. I guess that was, I don't know, you would think that you might be doing for like an elderly person, you know what I mean? Like taking care of him in certain ways in the bathroom and stuff and make sure he was okay. Was that Fuji's kind of role?
Yeah, by all means. And everybody knew it and everybody understood it. Nobody made cracks about it. I think only one person, but he was a guy who didn't know and it wasn't on the crew. But yeah, everybody understood that that's what it was. And back then, again, it was due to the respect that Yoko had earned, not just there, but even prior to coming to WWE. He had earned respect, and the Samoan family always had a place in New York and always had a place in Vince's heart. And so Fuji was there and knew his role and did. He took care of Yoko where he needed to be taken care of. And again, that big of a fella, needed help getting around sometimes, although he never bitched. I never heard him bitch. Never heard Yokozuna bitch once. But, you needed a travel partner. You needed somebody who would drive you, take care of you, and because it was getting to that point. So
it's interesting with him. He got a push so quickly. And that story on the documentary is great about how he originally was going to be part of the Head Shrinkers. Then they decided to put Rikishi with Sam instead, with Semu instead, and obviously those two to me work way better as the head shrinkers. The chemistry is much better. Even going back to Samoan SWAT team days at WCW, it just makes more sense that those two are together with better chemistry. And you put Yoko by himself and do certain things. Man, boy, does he get a push right away. Wins the 1993 Royal Rumble, then defeats Bret Hart at WrestleMania, wins the title. Obviously, the Hulk Hogan finish changes a little bit, but at least you're feuding with Hulk Hogan for a few months. So did were you shocked at all? Like, wow, what a man, this guy's getting a push quicker than anyone I've ever seen. Jesus.
No, I wasn't that shocked because once again, I always subconsciously and consciously was paying attention to, especially when I would see guys I know go in there and get a break. And I knew Curt Hennig, and I was around Curt Hennig for maybe 4 or 5 months in Portland when I first went to Portland, and Curt was getting ready to leave, but he was there maybe, I don't know, my time frame sometimes isn't always correct, but I knew Curt fairly well. And when I saw Curt come in and I heard the gimmick they had for him and saw it fit Curt, because Curt was one of those natural smartasses and could do things effortlessly. I saw him in the gym. He'd come in and just put 3 plates on one time and do 6 reps with 315. I'm like, holy Christ. No warm-up, no nothing. It just he could do it. And he was that freakishly strong, freakishly talented guy. So I would watch that and I'd say, that makes sense, because I'd seen him do it in Oregon. I'd seen him on the verge of greatness in Oregon. He was great in Oregon, don't get me wrong. But then I would also pay attention to the backstage antics and shenanigans too, because Curt was one of the most famous rivers in business, and he would come back and have somebody's shoe in the toilet. They'd come back from their match and the shoe would be in the toilet, just to mess with them, man, just for a rib. So when I would see stuff like that, I'd say, no, it fits, because that's the environment they have there. When I saw Yoko there, you knew he was going to go on to bigger and better things. You knew he had it. And so it didn't shock me. I was happy for him. And when they did the deal at WrestleMania, again, Hogan was coming in for his last run. It made sense. I didn't know Hogan at that time. I'd met him one time prior, but I didn't know him. And I can only imagine what the madhouse was back then, because this is the entertainment business, and everybody's going to have their teeth out, and you got to be on the lookout, man. It's you cannot be complacent. You can't just be happy to be there. If you're going to be a top guy in that environment, then you better be ready to fight for your spot, and not always physically, but sometimes you have to speak up, and you have to have a better idea and believe in yourself. So no, it wasn't that shocking to see that this guy who came from such a legacy as a Samoan dynasty was going to make it. Yeah, he was perfect for that spot. He was perfect for where he was, and I was not shocked at all. I was very, very happy for him, actually.
You like the finish of WrestleMania 9 with Hogan winning the title out of nowhere?
I wasn't a big fan of that, because I really thought, now wait a minute. But once again, as soon as that happened, then my mind goes back to, oh man, okay, it's the same old, and it's that. It is what it is. It's the manipulation part of this business that nobody really wants to face, nobody wants to hear about, nobody wants to go through. But it's a reality, and it's in any business. It's in any business with egos. It's in any business with huge money involved, and any corporation. I mean, it is a dog-eat-dog, shark-infested world, and some of us don't. Man, I didn't want to be anywhere near that, but I understood that if I wanted to be what I wanted to be, I had to do that. And I just didn't. I didn't, but you have to. If you're going to if you tell me you want to play with the big boys, you want to get right in the fight, you want to be you want Hunter's spot, or you want Shawn Michaels' spot, or you want Austin's spot, or you want The Rock's spot, or Hogan's spot. Well, okay. What are you going to do to get that? What do you really have to do? What is the real path you have to take? I'm not saying you have to be a complete jack off or asshole. That's not what I'm saying. But you have to play tough, because these guys aren't going to just lay down and say, "Oh yeah, please come in and take my spot." It's not like that. You know, when I watched that part of the documentary where somebody asked asked Bruce about
Bruce,
this. That was what it was. I'm sorry, I was trying to think who that was. They asked Bruce, and he just kind of went, "Oh." You know, and then I could feel it. But then when Hogan said it, he goes, "Oh, well, hey, we were talking this weekend, and Vince and I just decided," and I said this and that and the other and the other. And I went, anytime anybody says this and that and the other instead of the actual events, you know, or I know that whatever this, that, and the other entail, it's more like, hey, put the belt on me, then we'll go do the round. Not to leave for Europe or wherever they're going. Let's just do that tour, come back, and we'll drop it back. Okay. So in the way they dropped it back, obviously, with the flash camera and all that stuff. Okay, you know, however, he still got the belt back. He still got the title, and then, you know, he got the rub either way, and it made him that much of a bigger star working with Hogan. No doubt. But that's the way business was done. And I think it's still done to an extent that way. It's sure changed because of who's running things now, obviously. But because they're aware of every trick in the book, and they'll make it happen the way they want to make it happen. So you just have to be a better manipulator than they are. And that's going to be a hard task to accomplish, in my opinion. But when they did the angle the way they did it with Bret, I immediately went, okay, because I knew it back then. I knew what was going on back then. I knew that these guys weren't always playing nice, and it's not the way business is done. You sometimes, when we say whatever it takes, it's not always nice. And when they talk about it's lonely at the top, well, that's because you can't trust everybody. You can't trust anybody. You gotta only trust yourself. And those guys who did it may not have been the most popular guys in the world, but they were among the most successful. And if you look at the guys like Hogan, Shawn Michaels, Hunter, and Austin did a pretty good job of keeping his head, but he also knew when to say no, and he also knew when to put his foot down. And Yoko, I think, did that in his case at times, but also at times I think he was agreeable, and he had his BSK crew with Savio and Taker and Rikishi and the BSK crew. So, you know, he had people watching out for him. He was watching out for himself. He wasn't a dummy by any stretch of the imagination. He was I think he was happy to be there, happy to be the champion, and happy to work these angles. And hell, he had a great run with Taker too. So I think obviously he made his name. People still talk about him. People still remember him. And I just wish he would have done what was really needed so he'd still be around.
As far as the Hogan thing, it's interesting. I always go back and forth on like if I liked it or not, but the way the crowd responds when he wins, I mean, they go nuts when he wins. So it was one of those things. It's like, okay, for that night, it's a great pop. But I think about it as like it's almost better for Yoko, because not only he becomes 2-time champion, he gets to quote unquote kill Hulkamania, and at the end of the night, I mean, he just not really the end of the night, but the end of that match, because Bret wins, and that's the end of the night with Lawler. But that match, he brings Hogan, then gives him the bonsai after he wins. Then he covers him like with the flag and stuff. So
right.
I think for him it almost was better off, because he becomes 2-time champion. He kills Hulkamania at King of the Ring, and then he goes off and holds the title for many, many months. But one of those things, it's like at the time, it's like, yeah, weird booking. They never done that before. It's kind of weird. Hogan's a champion, but it almost worked out better for him.
No doubt, no doubt, and I would agree with that too, because there was a pop, there was a great pop, and you left the people happy. It was surprise, unpredictable, and you're right. He got a seat back after they went overseas and did what they did, came back and did what they did, and 100% right. You know, not a whole lot of people got to beat Hulk Hogan, and Yokozuna did it. So I would agree with that, no doubt.
They did have the flash, but he does technically beat him with the leg drop. So you know what I
Yeah.
mean. He does at least get a move in before that. So it's like he beat Hogan, not really the photographers. I do like that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. But that just how you do it is everything, and they may not remember anything you did in the match, but they'll remember the ending. And Hogan knows that, and any top guy knows that too. So they're gonna that's just part of the business, part of the game.
He ends up being a tag team champion with Owen Hart, ends Hulkamania, two-time world champion, like we said. But an interesting thing that I don't know if you'll remember this or not, because I did not recall this at all. It was a dark match, a part of WWF In Your House 5 Seasons Beatings in Hershey, Pennsylvania. It is Barry Horowitz, Hakushi, Billy and Bart Gunn defeating the Body Donnas, Skip and Zip, Isaac Yankem, and Yokozuna. One of those things where it's like I never heard of this match or never thought about it. It's a dark match, so it's hard to remember. But I just like, wow, you teamed with Yokozuna in December of 1995.
Well, that was if that was in Hershey,
Mhm.
that was that wasn't pay-per-view though, was it?
You guys were the dark match of a pay per view. It was In Your House 5 Seasons Beatings, which was Brett and Bulldog in the main event.
Oh, okay. Because I remember we got the haircut in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and then we went on
Oh boy.
last. Yeah, we went on last. Is
They
in
always
some
do
dark
that
match,
for the in
huh?
your house. In your house, for some reason, always does that. Dark matches start, but then they put dark matches after for Coliseum video and stuff, and for
Then,
the crowd. Yeah.
then it might have been. I mean, I honestly, good. I try to forget that. I try to block out a lot of stuff in my WWE days, but you know, sometimes I come back. But yeah, I don't. I honestly, God, I don't. That was kind of a painful time for me.
I love that it's you and Glenn are together there and throwing Yoko and Candido. It's an
Oh wow.
interesting foursome for sure.
You see, that goes back to what I was saying earlier about meeting the girl back in the bar 5 years later, because you just don't know who you're going to come across, who you're going to be around, who you're going to be in business with, or remember. So yeah, well, that was kind of interesting. I'm sure Glenn will remember that too. I'll have to call and remind him.
Yes.
Yeah, was it Hershey? What? Yeah.
Yeah, you were Isaac Yankem. We teamed with Yoko.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be that's a great memory. I'm sure he'll remember that one too. I was trying to forget Zip, and he's trying to remember Isaac. No doubt.
And somehow losing to Barry Horowitz, the Smoking Guns, and Hakushi. Thought you guys would get the win there. Damn.
Well, yeah, you know, once again, I think that we were just trying to survive and get out of the Hershey Arena by that night, or by that time. I know I was.
Was Yoko a big partier? I know you said he was a drinker a little bit, Yoko, with Taker and the shots and stuff, but was he like a big partier and stuff, or not really? Just more of like obviously more of, just a fun-loving, jovial guy.
Well, I think there were times when, of course, all of us would go out on occasion if we were in town and found an establishment who happened to have what we were looking for, which would whether it be libations or nice looking women, whatever it might have been. You know, and during that time, yeah, everybody was going out. Sometimes, once again, I for whatever reason just would go out on occasion, but most of the time I'd stay in my room so I wouldn't get in any trouble. I wasn't looking for trouble. I was putting myself under double secret probation just to make sure that, you know, I could see the arrows and the slings going on in the air and back and forth. And I wanted to just stay out of that mess. But Yoko, I think, of course, he and Taker would go out a lot in BSK, you know. So on occasions, yeah, he enjoyed going out, not just sitting in the room and having a good time. seeing what was happening in different towns. And that's what I would do sometimes. So I'd go to a town like Boston had the landing strip, I think, a place called the Landing Strip, and it was always fun, always interesting. I would go there occasionally, but not all the time. But most of the boys would. You know, if you just got done working, traveling all day, you want to wind down, have a good time, have a drink or two or three or four or five. That's what you did, and I'm sure Yoko did. I went out with him a couple times while we were there. So, you know, some guys did more than others, obviously.
Were you shocked to hear when he passed away? Was that, or were you almost thinking? It's sad to say, but it's almost thinking you weren't as shocked for it.
No, I was shocked. I remember hearing about it. I don't remember where I was at right now, actually, but I do remember hearing he was overseas in England, which they cover, and then we got the word that he had passed away, and it was a shock because I didn't know. I hadn't talked to him in a while, hadn't seen him in a while, didn't really know what his status was, didn't know what he was doing. But yeah, it was a shock. It certainly was.
As far as the legacy of Yokozuna, how would you describe it, or what would you say if somebody said, "Hey, what's the stamp he leaves behind, or what's his legacy?"
One of the greatest big men in the business. There's a lot of great big men. There's Andre. I've definitely put him up there with Andre. The guys that could not only move, but make an impact when they came in. Some guys were just big, and some guys couldn't use their size or height or whatever to their advantage. They could be big guys and just go out and punch and kick and be one-dimensional. But Yoko could actually, again, he could move before he got so heavy. He could move, and he was a pleasure to work with. He was a professional. He was that guy who looked vicious and looked like a monster, looked like a killer. And when he got in the ring, he couldn't have been anything farther from that. He was a guy who knew what the business was about. And I think his legacy is certainly going to hold true, that he was one of the best big men in the business at the time he was in.
What do you think about him as a Samoan? Is that one of the things that people are almost going to forget because of the gimmick of Yokozuna, that he's a part of that legacy, or is that just like kayfabe? People forget that he's definitely a part of the Samoan dynasty legacy.
Oh, I think certainly people will always link him with the Samoan dynasty. Always, always, always. Because even when he was Yoko, they still gave him his Samoan heritage. I don't ever think they ever called him Japanese. I do believe they called him Samoan sumo wrestler. So I think that'll always be with him. And I think when these other icon documentaries or legacy documentaries go down the road, when they profile guys like Roman Reigns and again The Rock and again Ikea and Wild Samoans, Yoko will always be in there. And I think that's one of the things, especially for historians and wrestling fans who care, and which I know there's still some out there who really love wrestling and care enough to find out about it. Those fans will always know and be reminded that he was part of the Samoan dynasty, no doubt.
And if anybody hasn't seen it, definitely check it out on the WWE Network. The Icons Yokozuna, I feel like they always do the production value and the documentaries very, very well on the network. It's like the only reason I've kept the network is because of those documentaries.
No
the
doubt.
Undertaker documentary, the one they just did on AJ Styles. I mean, it's like probably the only reason I have it.
Yeah, no doubt. And it is an interesting look behind the scenes of all the guys. You know, I wish, and sometimes I do wish, and I'm glad they didn't. I wish they would have done that when I was growing up as a fan. But at the same time, I'm glad they didn't, because it still kept some mystery in it for me. And when I learned about it later, it was even that more fascinating. And but I think that, yeah, the Icon series and all their documentaries, the 24/7, or when they follow the guys from wherever through WrestleMania, their adventures through that weekend. It's a cool thing to watch, man. It's a cool thing to aspire to be if you really want to be in this business, to see how the guys you admire did it, and then to see what they go through. And a lot of it seems glamorous, but a lot of it really isn't. And there is a lot of hard work behind it. There's a lot more to it than what you really see on camera. You just get a glimpse of it, and there's a lot more to it than that. And but they do a really good job of telling a great story, and they do your peak, but it's just a peak.
For sure. I think that's a great stopping point for this week, and we can get into some plugs. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. You can follow Dr. Tom at Dr. Tom Prichard. You can check the JPWA out and Dr. Tom on ProWrestlingTees.com. A couple great stores over there. Go to Patreon and check out the JPWA. Also, go to Patreon, check out the new TMPT Empire. We got some stuff coming down the pike. We got some stuff coming up with Dr. Tom as well. We're going to do a roundtable legend discussion. We'll talk about that date coming up very, very soon. I think that'll be a lot of fun. And also check out JPWA's website, jpwrestlingacademy.com. Dr. Tom, you got anything else besides this awesome book, a pro wrestling curriculum, advice, suggestions, and stories to help the aspiring pro get to the next level?
Yeah, you can get that book on Amazon.com. Just type in Dr. Tom's book in the subject line and it'll come up. Also, if you want a personally signed autographed book, you can go to my PayPal, which is drtompritchard@aol.com, and I would be glad to send you a personally signed autographed copy of that very book for $25. Also, do we have Candido's book out there by any chance? Is it anywhere near you?
Where the heck did I put that book?
I know where mine is. It's right behind me here, too. I have to.
Hold on one second.
Well, I've got mine, too. So here we go. Hold on. I know we got Candido's.
Yep, I got it right here. Look at that.
Yes. That is exactly right. I was going to say, let's give young John a plug, too. This is Chris Candido. Again, one of the greatest young stars ever to come in the business. Died way too young, Chris Candido. That's on Amazon.com, too. So check it out. A lot of cool pictures in here, a lot of cool stories in here. And that's about it, man. I've got some stuff coming up, but I think they're sold out.
Nice. I actually just interviewed Johnny Candido about this book. Great stuff. I didn't realize. I knew he lived in New Jersey. I didn't realize he was that close to me, and I didn't realize we were the same exact age either. So we were able to connect a little bit. It's like, wow. For some reason, I thought he was older. I don't know why, but really great guy. Good stuff. And he literally does some work down the street from me, like literally right down the street. I was like, oh my God. He's like, you're familiar? I'm like, yes. And then when he mailed me the book, he goes, dude, I literally work like 2 minutes away. I was like, holy crap, that's crazy.
I'm just telling you.
A weird connection. Yeah.
That's what I mean, man. You never know who you're going to run into and how it's going to wind up.
Crazy. And
someday you may meet some people on the side of the road. Yeah, you may meet some people on the side of the road when you're at your car, and 10 years later you see them. Ooh, man. So
that's true.
Anyway, cool.
Also want to mention this. Go to lucy.co for those of you wanting getting off of nicotine. Use the promo code Dr. Tom. And of course, for Blue Chew, free an order. Obviously, it's free, but the shipping is just $5. Go to bluechew.com. And the promo code, again, is Dr. Tom. So a lot of great stuff going on with the Taking You to School crew here. Absolutely love it. Dr. Tom, anything else you want to throw out there?
Well, like you said, I just hear that we're trying to build this empire bigger and better as we go. So hopefully by the summertime, there's going to be a lot of exciting things happening, huh?
Yes, I'm hoping so. Let's hope so.
Yeah, very cool.
I'd like to thank everybody for joining us this week. We'll see you right back here next week on Take You to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. See you next week, folks.